Landwirt.com, the online marketplace for agriculture.
Landwirt.com visits Jürgen Pemmer in Wachau to examine his self-built Undervine mulcher for organic apricot farming. Hello, Jürgen.
Hello, Dennis. Nice to see you.
Jürgen, why is understock maintenance so challenging in organic apricot cultivation?
Yes, since we are not allowed to use herbicides in organic fruit growing, the area under the trees becomes very overgrown and a lot of brush accumulates. It's always damp. Of course, it's really important that it's always kept nice and open. I decided not to use an open system with a plow or anything else that disturbs the soil. Instead, I want to keep the humus on the field, also to prevent erosion. The mulcher, as I said, is a homemade mulcher. A few components were bought, like the shaft itself, which I found used on Landwirt AT, and I also found the gauge wheels used on Landwirt AT. I completed most of the work independently. The basic frame was ready quickly, which went well and left me very satisfied. I thought it fit great, but after the first test run, I realized it wasn't quite right in detail yet. I made a lot of mistakes there, especially with the cords and the ribbons I used. I wasn't satisfied at all, not even with the result. I had to make sure I could get a flow going, to get a wind going, so that the sound would come out really nicely.
How much hydraulic power does your tractor need for the drive?
You need at least 60 liters of hydraulic oil, so that's not a huge amount. And oil cooling is important, which thank God he has very generously on top. Sideways for understanding, that's also the big challenge. I wanted a device that is very delicate so that I can really look nicely along the stalk. That was also the reason why I decided to mount it on the front loader. I can really drive with millimeter precision. So with the small trees, you make a slight steering movement and you're away from the tree so quickly that it doesn't get any bark damage. And with the big strong trees, like I said, I really drive up close because the whole device is spring-loaded and it really cleans nicely and I get really great results with them. There are such devices available to buy, but they just didn't fit into our business concept. We said we would stick with a standard gauge tractor, and all the devices that are available to buy are more for narrow gauge tractors and in rear mounting. Now I'm way up high and the apricots, bam, they stick out too far and you can't see well on the tree. And there you get a lot of injuries to the tree because, of course, I want to use the trunk cleaner from really young orchards, which are really delicate, to old, robust orchards, where cleaning off the shoots is almost like a peeling, and there I really go at it, I would say, pretty aggressively.
Are there certain tree shapes, row widths, or soil types for which your understock mulcher is especially well suited?
Overall, it works with any tree shape, but let's take our hollow crown trees as an example. We also have orchards with really old Wachau apricot trees. I often can't quite reach my goals. As I said, there are no restrictions there.
What kind of reach do you have?
I'm already 2 to 2.5 meters away from the center of gravity, which is quite far. The mulcher itself, which he built in 3 days, actually worked quite well and quickly. The fine-tuning took about another week, spread out over a year until we had all the belts and everything fit. The belts are now homemade and I use conveyor belts for everything there. And for the costs, we're at about 800 euros. As I said, thanks to the used items from Landwirt.at and everything else being homemade, we're really keeping the costs very, very low because a comparable device costs about 10,000 euros. So the Söderspawn is really brutal because if I calculate all those 2,000 marum trees, if I were to cut them down with the motor saw, it would definitely take me 1 to 2 weeks, and now I'm done in 3/4 of a day and I have the comfort of sitting in a tractor with air conditioning and there's no dust inside.
That sounds great. Yes, dear Selberbauer, so you heard it. We really love visiting such innovative projects and we look forward to new submissions. Don't hesitate to send your projects to landwirt.com too. You can find the instructions for that on our website.